So good morning, everyone. My name is Dipesh Deshmukh, and welcome to another webinar of IBG. IBG is India Business Group. I can see some of the non-members here. So for their understanding, I'll very quickly talk about IBG. IBG is India Business Group. It's founded by Mr. Vikash Mittarsen, and the entire focus of our chamber is to help members with business. I mean, getting business, getting connects, getting leads, also how we can convert them. We have some amazing mentoring sessions by our founder, Mr. Vikash himself. And the entire focus is how we can help our members in any way we can. Also, we help our members with nationally as well as internationally. We are tied up with several Chamber of Commerces within India as well as abroad. And that is the reason several of our members have started getting international business thanks to IBG. So I would like to introduce and welcome Mr. Vikash Mittarsen, who's the founder of IBG. Vikash, a few words from you, please.
Thank you, Dipesh. Welcome, Mr. Pierre-Emmanuel. Very happy to have you here. Let me tell you, Belgium, in my own thinking, in my mind, is one of the best European countries. Very clean. The people are very clean, straightforward. I'm speaking out of experience. About 25, 30 years back, I was in textiles and I used to travel all over Europe. And always the Belgium customers were the best, the cleanest, the most honest. Unfortunately, last few years, I've not had the opportunity to go even visit. I'm no longer in textiles. So I'm looking for an opportunity to get there for a while, maybe spend a week. Thank you. Let's get on with this.
Thank you.
Important to hear what Mr. Pierre has to say.
All right. Also, I would like to introduce everyone to our CEO, Ms. Priya Pansare. Priya, a few words from you, please.
Good morning, everyone. Very good morning, Mr. Pierre. I would like to update you on certain things that IBG is doing, especially during this lockdown period. We have connected with a lot of international chambers as well as domestic. And there is a new concept that we have developed called as President's Roundtable. So while we are connecting to all these chambers, thankfully with the help of all the Consul Generals in Bombay, we have developed a concept, as I just mentioned, about the President's Roundtable, where we are going to talk about the benefits together as members would get through the chambers. So I would like to have your opinions as in when required and suggestions too, so we can have a good meeting going forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Priya. I also would like to thank our team members, Siddhi, Girish, for helping our chamber. So a big thank you to both of you. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Pierre. I'm going to call him Pierre. Pierre Brusselmans. It's a French name, and it's in English it's Peter, right?
Exactly.
So that's what I just learned. So a very brief introduction, because there is a long list of what he has done in life, but he's got a double master's. He's got 2 master's degrees in political science. No wonder he's sitting on that chair. He is the Consul General of Belgium. He has done a lot of work in government. He was the parliamentary assistant of Federal Parliament, Brussels, Belgium. Then he was Attaché Minister of Foreign Affairs, Belgium. Then he was the junior diplomat, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, again, Belgium. He was also the first secretary and deputy head of Mission Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And that's a big country, big position. He also was the first secretary, permanent mission of Belgium to the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. So, and he was also first secretary in Middle East and North Africa Division, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Also the advisor to the Deputy Prime Minister and Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brussels, Belgium. So a big list of accomplishments, and it's an honor to have you with us. And we are very excited that you've given us time. A big thank you. So Pierre, a few words from you before I start our conversation.
Well, Dipesh, first of all, thank you so much for your very kind words. The pleasure and the honor is all mine. I'm here to speak, of course, a little bit about the relationship and the way forward between India and Belgium. Now, as all diplomats, of course, we are here to try to improve them, to increase them, to in-depth them. I mean, to do the whole thing to make it bigger. But I want to first maybe go a little bit to the history. I mean, Belgium was the first country which has actually established diplomatic ties with India. And that was, of course, in 47. And our relationship and our vision towards India has not changed fundamentally since then. India is an important country, an important partner for us, and we just want to continue to work well together and to improve it. Now, I came here about 1 year ago. And of course, when you come to a new country, to a new continent, you want to discover everything. And maybe I would have to speak a bit about the time pre-COVID and the time post-COVID, or since COVID, because I mean, there has been, for me, my experience so far has really been kind of divided in two. What happened before, the bustling life of Mumbai, running from one place to the other, and discovering India. Luckily for us, we decided to actually delve into India from the first side. And India, it's of course the unity in diversity, and there I see really links and similarities with Belgium and with the EU. But of course, we'll be able to speak more about that, and of course how I would like to see this increase and enlarge, because mostly when people think about Belgium and India, they think about diamonds. That's the first thing, and we might speak about diamonds a little bit, but we would like to actually go further than that. But please, I'm all yours.
Thank you, Pierre. And in India, we love Belgium because we have Belgian chocolate waffles and Belgian ice cream.
Yeah, of course.
So we all love your country and we talk about it every weekend. All right. So Pierre, the first thing that comes to mind during these times is COVID, right? So I would like to first open up the discussion on how Belgium is handling the COVID situation. How is the COVID situation in your country currently?
Well, you know, unfortunately, COVID is hitting us all. I mean, we all, no country so far has been spared by COVID, maybe Bhutan, but still even Bhutan is being touched because there's probably much less tourism towards Bhutan than before. So regardless if you have a kind of the pandemic inside your country or not, unfortunately, COVID has impacted us all. Now, it has changed our daily life. We went through first, let's say, crisis, which was peaking, I think, around the month of May, within a serious improvement in June, July, August, and now we are actually, unfortunately, going towards what we would call a second wave. Now, the economic impact of the crisis so far has been estimated at being a minus 9% of GDP. So, well, which is still a very significant impact, maybe not as hard hit as some other countries, but still a very big impact. However, there are also signs of recovery in the sense that, I mean, I have no crystal ball. I don't know what the second wave will bring us, but normally we expect it to have a kind of a growth of more than 6 to 7% in 2021 and a growth of 3 to 4% in 2022, meaning that if everything would remain, let's say, on track as it is now, we could expect that we would have a recovery in about 2 years of the crisis we went through in 2020. Now, it has had a big impact, of course, on our behavior patterns in India as well as in Belgium. But the reasons why so far the impact has been controllable is that we have helped, let's say, people which were either unemployed or self-employed with premiums in order to avoid, let's say, a massive loss of jobs. There has also been, let's say, investments by the government in, of course, the health system and in the search for medication and for vaccines. We can speak about that as well. So far, let's say, I mean, yes, a negative impact, controllable, still sizable. Minus 9% is not a good figure. Nobody likes to have a minus 9%. But yeah, that's the situation. And we are hoping, of course, to get back on track very soon.
All right. So how is the impact on, I mean, unemployment? I mean, how bad is it? What is the government doing to take care of that part?
Yeah, so a lot of schemes have been developed. Well, Belgium was already a country with a kind of a high social security system, meaning that if in Belgium you would lose your employment, the government will actually give you benefits in order to help you to find another job, but also to help you to keep your, let's say, living standards as they were before. So to give you an idea, the last 5-6 years, Belgium was on a kind of a run towards almost full employment. Every year unemployment figures were going down, and of course in 2020 a change has happened. So now we are back, let's say, at 7.3% of unemployment on the, or let's say, calculated on the population, which could work. So we have a 7.3, which is still slightly better than a 9.5 unemployment in Europe. But we were close to 4 or 5% in 2019, and of course we aim of helping everybody to have a job and have a decent level of income. So by having a relatively affluent population at the same time with a spread of wealth which is I would rather equal in a whole society, it allows the society to recover easier from economic, let's say, backlashes, meaning that all those people have, well, most of the Belgians have some savings, most of the Belgians have a security net, have an insurance, a health insurance, and so they can basically cope, even if nobody likes to cope with a kind of backlash, but it's doable. And we have to admit that the developed social security system has been a kind of a stabilizer in order to avoid lots of people falling either into poverty or falling into unemployment. So far we have been able to keep that under control.
So I'm sure the social security provides a nice blanket to the citizens of your country. And that's a big peace of mind, because otherwise I know it's not easy to survive such a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, in Belgium, we have also had a policy the last years to stimulate more and more self-employment. But in order to encourage and invite people to actually launch their own business, start a little enterprise, be self-reliant, it's good that you can offer them a certain levels of security, which allows them to take this leap forward and take a certain, let's say, calculated risk on launching their own job or their own business. And that's again one of the fields where I see some similarities with what's happening in India. I mean, the population in India is a lot about, and the business is a lot about small and middle-sized enterprises. People would take their own destiny in their hands. They have an idea. They are creative. They can rely on people with knowledge qualities and technological qualities, and put that together, they start their business. And Belgium is very similar like that. And it's also, our economy is a lot pushed by family-owned enterprises. Again, something which is very common here in India as well. Studies in the economists have shown in the past that family-owned enterprises themselves offer much more stability as well for employment, as for growth, as for, let's say, resistance to negative economic shocks. Companies tend to look in the long term. I mean, they will not immediately start laying off half of the enterprise. When they build something, they're not building it to actually sell it off at the stock market to make a quick, let's say, added value. No, they look at the long term. And so there are things which are, I think, where India as well has a lot of potential to, let's say, rebound quickly out of this type of crisis, while in some other countries which might be more government-oriented or government-organized might suffer more.
So that's really an interesting fact that we came to know today about how the government is promoting enterprise and business. While we are on that point, a question to you then is, I know in UK, Canada, and US, they promote international investors to invest in their country. So Canada and UK both have startup programs where an international investor can invest and immigrate into that country. Does Belgium offer any such opportunities to international investors?
Yes, first of all, like in most of the European countries, investors are welcome. And yes, we have programs now. The attraction of investments towards Belgium. I mean, you know, Belgium is a federal country like India. Again, a similarity. Even if we're very small, we have 3 regions. And so together with FIT, which is Flanders Investment and Trade, but also with AWEX, which is the Walloon Agency for Investment and Trade, and for the Brussels Agency Investment and Trade, we offer a host of services to investors who want to come to Belgium. So it starts from, of course, classic advice and consultancy, up to even helping to locate places where to invest, to kind of do a research on the profitability, on the fiscal status, and on all the conditions, so that people, investors, know in what they're heading to, and how they will be treated. So yes, we have the similar programs. Now, to give you another example on how we try to help, this COVID crisis is impacted especially on the human traffic. People travel much less than before. But still, in the crisis, as I speak today, Belgium has never stopped issuing visa for work permits, or for people who come to study to Belgium, or for people who are joining their family, which are already living in Belgium. So even if you could consider that each human being is by itself, unfortunately, a health hazard, because that person could come eventually with a disease, or could come or spread a disease, still we are a very open economy, and we want to remain that way. So yes, so far non-essential travels are not yet permitted in Belgium as well as in other Schengen countries, but still there are, every day our visa offices are treating visas not in the same numbers and the same levels as a few, 6 months ago. We hope to get there back soon, but still, if you come to study in Belgium, if you have an employment in Belgium, if you have a residence permit in Belgium, you are entitled to come. And I would like to jump to another thing. Do you know that the Indian diaspora in Belgium is about 23,000 people?
Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, you might say, of course, if you look at the UK, I'm pretty sure the Indian diaspora in the UK will be way higher, no doubt about it, but there are other ties, of course, with the UK. But what you should know is that in Belgium, the first foreign foreign employees are the French. The second one are the Dutch, and the third ones are the Indians. Oh. So there are more Indians working in Belgium as there are people from Great Britain or from Italy. Just you are the third biggest community. So economic relationship, of course, you can speak about trade, about what you sell, what you buy. We can speak about that as well. But it also goes about human beings, because human beings, when they travel, when they move, I mean, they bring a kind of a deepening of the relationship, which goes much further than just, okay, what am I selling to India, or what am I purchasing from India? I mean, and you have to look at those 23,000 people as a kind of a beautiful example of how open Belgium is to India, and how many Indians have already found a way to actually work. And when I speak about diaspora, I speak about Belgians with an Indian origin. I speak about Indian students. I speak about Indians with a work permit and living in Belgium. I mean, I speak about the rural community, so in different types of levels of integration, but they're already there. So, I mean, I think it's a case in point to state that Belgium is a rather open economy and open to Indians, and a lot of Indians have already found their way to Belgium, as, by the way, your founder mentioned earlier on in this conversation.
Yes, so that's a very interesting fact here. So what kind of businesses? So is there any predominant industry?
Yes. Thank you for bringing me on this subject. I mean, to give you a few figures, so the bilateral trade between Belgium and India is about 11 billion euros. Apologies, I didn't took my calculator to put it into crores. I mean, I'm still, after 1 year in India, I'm still getting a bit confused with the lakhs and the crores, but it's a lot of money. So 11 billion exchange, and it is a case in point. The bulk of it are diamonds. I mean, I don't have to explain to Indians the importance of surat, where more than 90% of the diamonds are being cut and polished. But I don't have to explain neither the importance of Antwerp, which is treating between 50 to 80% of all diamonds which are being traded around the world. They come or they go through Antwerp. So this link is there, it's well established, and it's important. Now, unfortunately, sometimes they overshadow the rest. But we also have a lot of relationship in chemical products, in textiles, in health, in food processing. So there are plenty of other fields where there is an established relationship and where we think it could be enlarged or increased. And we would like, with all the respect I have, of course, for the diamond community and the diamond as such, we would like to diversify more, let's say, our trade relationship, as we wanted to diversify our relationship with the Indian people through arts, culture, music. We would like to have a kind of a broader field than being too much single pointed as to diamonds. No, Belgium, India is not only diamonds, it is more than that. Diamonds is and will remain an important part of our business, but we would of course like to spread it out. So
interesting. And diamonds are forever. So that will always.
Yeah, that was a slogan which was invented by the Beers a certain number of years ago, and I think it was a very good slogan. But now I think that the diamond industry, which has suffered a lot, I mean, maybe proportionally more than other sectors the last year, the diamond sector has suffered. The diamond sector is looking for kind of a second breath, and I think investments on the field of marketing will be needed. But the product is good, and the attractivity is there, and the know-how is there as well, and the demands. So now you just have to make sure that in the luxury goods that your product remains high on the list of what people want, and that's an exercise which will have to be done by the whole chain or the whole business chain, going from the mines to the traders, to the manufacturers, and also the not the end consumer, but let's say the sales points. They all have to come together to brands and to actually continue to push the diamond as being kind of a really unique selling proposition, as diamonds are forever.
Absolutely. So my next question to you was, which you have kind of addressed: does Belgium look up to India as a good friend?
Of course. I mean, the relationship has been good from the start. There's no question about that. But I doubt that you will find a lot of diplomats coming to speak to IBG saying that the relationship with India would be bad. I mean, I doubt what, but I would like to maybe give a few examples on how this goodness in relationship translates itself. Well, not only do we have a steady growth in our business relationship, which is money is what we always say in French, money is a nerve of war. So, I mean, it goes through business. But well, we had the honor and to have the Belgian Queen and King on a state visit. So their Highnesses, their Majesties came in 2017 on a state visit. You have to know that for His Majesty King Philip, I think it was his third state visit since he acceded to the throne, showing that India was already high on the list, and also knowing that his father, His Majesty King Albert, came 10 years ago on a state visit to India as well. We were very honored to have the visits of the Indian Minister of Foreign Affairs, so of External Relationship, I think you call him Dr. Jaishankar. He actually was able to meet in Brussels his counterpart, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, in February this year. So we have an ongoing relationship. We try to maintain it. We have a joint economic commission which meets every year, once in Belgium, once in India. It allows us to actually delve into the nitty-gritty problems which might arise, but always with the constructive aim of helping each other. And that has been something constant since let's say, the independence of India up to now. There have been no moments where we had tensions. Yes, we might be geographically maybe far away. Yes, Belgium is a small country. I mean, yeah, But it's not because you're small that you're not important. I mean, Belgium is in the center of the EU. The EU Commission is based in Belgium. The European Parliament is mainly based in Belgium. The European Council is based in Belgium. I mean, we have NATO. We are at the heart of a market of 500 million people, and we want to maintain a good relationship with India. And India is 1.3, 1.4 billion people, aspiring for stability, aspiring for growth. I mean, it's an upcoming world power. In certain levels, it's of course already a world power. In other things, it wants to actually grow, and Belgium can maybe contribute a little bit to this good relationship and to this mutual beneficial relationship.
That's really nice to hear. Since we are on the topic of little bit of politics that you mentioned, so why was Brussels chosen as the seat of the European Parliament?
Well, the seat of the European Parliament is actually, it has a double seat. So you have a city which is called Strasbourg, which is a French city just on the German border, where the plenary sessions of the European Parliament are being held, I think about 10 a year. But in reality, the European Parliament is established in Brussels. And so all the commissions, all the meetings are taking place there, except for the plenary sessions which take place in Strasbourg. You have to go back to the history of Europe. I mean, don't forget that we have fought out a certain number of wars over the centuries. And those wars tended to become bigger and bigger and more important as time went further. So while maybe in the 16th century or in the 17th century, there were a few skirmishes where you could actually have a few battles, then have a peace agreement, and let's go on with life. Unfortunately, the mechanization of and the industrialization has led also to the First World War, where the domino effect made all countries have been basically included into this war, and where the damage has been even bigger. And I think that the sheer human suffering of the First World War and the Second World War has brought to our idea that we cannot continue to go on like that. I mean, if each war becomes more devastating and more dramatic than the previous one, and we already had millions and millions of people losing their lives and young people, I mean, the future of our nations were really, let's say, killed and maimed while they had still their future ahead of them. So that's why we decided to create the European Union. And Belgium has traditionally always been the battlefields of Germany and France. So I mean, because Belgium is mostly a low country, so when the armies were attacking to each other, I mean, often they came through Belgium. And so Belgium was unfortunately, in that case, well, badly located because, of course, the damage was happening mainly in Belgium. And I think we understand even better as a small country that big countries need to have organized and predictable relationship between each other. They need to close deals. They need to be able to trust each other. They need to see that their common interest is the relationship and the growth of each one of them. Because if the economy is open, we as a small country, 80% of our GDP is done by exports. We will thrive. If countries become defensive, if countries apply protectionist policies, if country tries to say, oh, I'm going to do a win-lose game, so I'm going to sell everything, but I'm not going to buy anything of them, in that case, not only tension rises, a conflict can rise, but we as a small country, we're going to probably pay the price for that. That's why Brussels has always pushed, and that our government will always push for multilateralism and for the construction of the European Union and the strengthening and increase of the European Union.
But 80% GDP coming from export is a huge number.
Yeah.
So what are the predominant products that get exported out of Belgium?
Basically, chemical products are about 23% of our exports. We have also transport equipment. We do a lot of cars and trucks and buses. We have machinery and equipment where we're rather high, 10%. And we have mineral products. Now, those mineral products and plastics, either they're petroleum related, which came into Belgium, were transformed and are being exported. But you never should forget that we have a few big ports, and the biggest one is Antwerp. And Antwerp has actually a special meaning for India, because Antwerp is by far and large, the main hub for Indian products to come into Europe, or from European products to go to India. It is really the main hub. And when you have an open economy, you see that I mean, our economies are so much interrelated with our neighboring countries, but also with the rest of the world, is that basically on statistics, you might have the impression that we import the same products that we export. It's because most of the products we export, they're in the second or third stage of development. So we bring in parts from elsewhere, we transform them, we assemble them, we re-export them. So we import chemical products and we export chemical products. And there's an added value which is being made in between, but we would not be able to export products if we were not importing some others.
Interesting. So is Belgium a democracy or a kingdom?
Interesting question. It's both, of course. Belgium is like some other European kingdoms as well, is a demonstration that through time and history, it's perfectly possible to have a democracy which is a kingdom at the same time. So our head of state is His Majesty King Philip. He's the seventh king of Belgium, and he is actually reigning but not governing, meaning that we have an elected parliament, like in India. We are a federal country, so we have federal parliaments. In our regions, they have regional parliaments. And out of that federal parliament, a majority is being fostered, and a new government is being proposed. And very recently, after a long lockdown between different parties, which were maybe not on the same page as where they wanted to go, a new government was formed under the leadership of Prime Minister, His Excellency Minister De Croo, and who took oath, I think, was on the 1st of October or the 30th of September. And we have a new government, and our previous Prime Minister, which was the first lady to be Prime Minister in Belgium, that's something where India was actually faster than we were. So Mrs. Brusselmans now is Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs. She's my new boss. So yes, we are a well-functioning democracy, but as in every democracy, you can have difference of opinions, you have to foster deals, you have to actually make coalitions, and you have to serve the people. And I think that you can be a kingdom, and the king has always played his role and been very constructive, helping, inviting politicians to think, to try to foster a majority, which is democratic because supported by the parliament, and also answering the calls and the needs and the demands of the people. So yes, you can have both kingdom and democracy.
That's very interesting. We didn't know that. All right. Now, a different kind of a question. I know that Belgians are very fond of fine arts and music. Why is this so? I mean, it's a very big part of your society. So is there any specific reason for this?
I don't know if there's a specific reason. I think that culture might sometimes be a little bit forgotten, in the sense that people do not always see immediately the importance and the usefulness of investing into education, into culture. I think both of them are really pillars to train and to form the new coming generations. So art and expression forms of art, might they be modern or might they be ancient, are helping, the cultural diversity and the richness of the people to express themselves. So while you have to support, of course, new forms of arts, and in Belgium, new forms of arts have been rising, like musical festivals, like Tomorrowland is attracting a lot of people from all around the world. I mean, in a kind of art form which I'm not very familiar with, but you also the street art is in. When you look at those art forms, they always have a relationship with the past. Nothing comes out of nothing. It's built upon. When you look at modern artists, you can actually trace back their, not necessarily their inspiration, but their training and their knowledge through history. And there's a link between the past and the present, which artists are developing. And so by training and by supporting musea and culture institutions, you actually offer the biggest exposure to your younger generations, from which they can take the bits and parts which they like and bring their own creativity and their own modernity into it and express a new form of art. And I think that's probably one of the things which separates or distinguishes human beings from animals and from, I mean, we tend to want to see more than that there is. We have imagination. We can, let's say, live out of our body by having our sheer mind expressing itself. And culture is one of those vectors which is helping to that. I think it's probably the normal aspiration of most human beings to express themselves in new ways, and culture and art have to be supported for that, because that's a way to maybe peacefully and help people to develop and to feel good.
Very interesting. A lot of people are asking questions, but before that, I have to first ask you a personal question. I don't know if it's a difficult question. French fries have not come from France. What about Belgian waffles?
Well, it's a tricky question, because I mean, for the French fries, I mean, what we tend to do is we tend to spread the knowledge. Knowledge is power. We will probably not be able to change the name of it, even if we all know it are Belgian fries. So the only thing we can do is spread the knowledge and the understanding that good potatoes, I mean, for every good dish, every good food always starts with good ingredients. That's the first of it. If the ingredients are not good, you can cook, your cook can be as good as possible, but it won't help. So the Belgian potatoes, which, yes, we produce lots and lots of potatoes, together with a certain way of how to prepare them, makes that the Belgian fries are the fries. It's like Belgian chocolate. Now, here again, by spreading the knowledge around the world, that don't forget, okay, you might call them French fries, but actually it's from Belgium. Same for the waffles. I mean, I think food is an important part of our culture, but it's the same for most of the countries. I mean, but it's also a way how you can differentiate yourself. I mean, if you want to eat good oysters, you probably will go to France. If you want to, but it's a way of culture in the end. It's another way of enjoying life, another way of how you look at life and perspective, where you stand yourself, and it's part of your identity, part of your DNA. I think that in Belgium, if you want to learn to know people well, you have to share a meal, or more than a meal, but it will also go through the sharing of a meal. And it's the time is to spend together, the discussion you will have together with the meal you will share, which will make it good. Because if you have the same food and you eat it alone, it will never taste as good as if you eat it with a certain company. So it's the whole spirit around it, as well as, of course, the good ingredients and the good product. But it's Belgian. I mean, that's, we like to brand ourselves as people who are coming from the Dukes of Burgundy, which enjoying life, where art, culture, food are highly praised and highly appreciated by everybody.
Very nice, very nice. I'm sure a lot of people had no idea that French fries have come from Belgium. So now we have given them a very important piece of information today.
Thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, Pierre, I'm going to take a few questions. Diamonds, I understand. So I understand Dubai is trying to become a diamond center in competition to Belgium. What are your comments?
Oh, well, you know, diamonds are small, and diamonds are not only the product by themselves, but also the people who trade them. It's a world business, and it's highly concentrated into a certain type of business people which have been dealing in those diamonds and those products for years. And those people are mobile. They will go where trade is and where demand is. So you cannot, let's say, it's not a problem that there are diamonds being traded in Dubai, and we can understand that some people want to do business there as well, because you have demand as well. Now, if you look in a longer perspective as a diamantier, you need regional points of access everywhere around the world to service your clients, and you have to go where they are. So you have to sell. You have to be in China. You have to be in Hong Kong. You have to be in the US. You have to be in Europe. But when you do your trades in your business, you also want to do them in an environment which is stable. And I think that it's good to have other countries and other places which want to become important in trade, because it will keep Antwerp on the edge, saying, okay, are we still the best place for diamantiers to be? And you have to look at the whole perspective, the tax system, the social security system, the education, the healthcare system, but also the security, the security, meaning will you be treated fairly if you have a kind of if you have a fight which would go to justice? Will you have good courts? Will there be no corruption? Will you be able to gain an honest process? And if you put it all together, when you deal and when you want to speak with people which have knowledge themselves, so all these elements are being combined in Antwerp. When you want to purchase, you want to be able to make sure that you can select from the biggest variety of offers as to choose the product which really you need. Tenders, most of the tenders are being organized in Antwerp. You're not only looking at the big mines, the big producers, but you're also looking at the smaller mines. Well, where does it all connect in Antwerp? So I can see value in Dubai as a regional center. I don't think, and I of course do not hope, that Dubai would replace Antwerp. You know, it remains in a volatile and difficult region. It's the Middle East. I mean, I don't have to tell you that you have tensions sometimes with Iran. You might have tensions with Saudi Arabia. I mean, you have a kind of a different legal system. It's not necessarily democracy, I'm sorry to say so. We were speaking about it a lot, but the democracy also offers the rule of law and the guarantee of the respect of the rule of law. Those are things which are very important in business. I mean, you wouldn't want that rules would change overnight. I mean, I know that, for example, in Dubai, overnight they have added value-added taxes on the diamond business. I mean, and a lot of diamantiers were extremely unhappy about this sudden change of law, not only because they had to pay more taxes, but it just shows you how insecure and unpredictable things can be. So, I mean, when you put it all together, I think Antwerp still has a lot of reasons for the diamantiers to be the best place to be. And of course, we want to remain open, and we want to listen to the diamantiers and the sector as to where do they see need for improvements in order to, of course, be able to have a conductive trade, which is helping the business. That's what we're there for.
Cool. So our founder, Mr. Vikash, is asking you, how is the relationship of Europe working out with UK these days?
Oh, well, the relationship, you have to look at it in a longer term and in a short term. In the longer term, what everybody should never forget is that the UK is one of the closest neighbors of Belgium, France, Netherlands, and the other countries. I mean, geographically, they're not going to move. I mean, the tectonic plates are not moving that fast that they're going to end up at the other side of the world by tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So we all know that we have a huge mutual interest. I mean, we will remain their first trading partner, and they will remain an extremely important trading partner for us. Now, of course, you have these negotiations which are ongoing about the Brexit, which also should be seen. Of course, everybody wants to make the best deal for himself, and when you negotiate, you have to wheel and deal, and that can sometimes be difficult. but it's important to see that this type of negotiations are possible in the EU and even with a country which was part of the EU, which is getting out of the EU. It's not because that the UK has left the European Union that war is coming. Not at all. We're negotiating. I mean, how many, let's say, structures would be as strong and as resilient as the EU as to be able to cope with not only a lot of countries which became member over the past the 20, 30 years, but also with now a country which is leaving. It hasn't affected the existence and the reason of existence and the function of the EU as such. I mean, if you would compare the EU with a federal country, how many federal countries around the world would survive easily if one of their federal states, one of the big federal states would leave the federation? I mean, imagine that in the US, you would have Arizona, or you would have, I don't know, Texas leaving the US. I mean, the US, they would be shaken. I mean, I don't know if those people would still, I mean, if they would be able to cope with this type of changes. We are a democracy. We believe that the opinion of the people is important. And if the UK people have decided that they think it's better for them to be out of the EU, okay, let's see how we can find a deal, which is respective of the previous engagements taken by everybody, which is respecting the choices which have been expressed by the people of the UK themselves, and which are, of course, in a common benefit of everybody. I mean, it's actually a proof of how the EU is a strong democracy as itself. We can take this, and we will find an agreement. I mean, so I mean, it's and the relationship. I mean, nobody has any doubt that we'll get to a good relationship because we all need it. I mean, we would be stupid if we would actually try to spoil the relationship between the UK and the EU, because it would be against their benefit and against ours. So don't do it.
And I'm going to correct you, Pierre. With Donald Trump as the president, nothing can shake America. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No comments.
We'll see. But I mean, America, let's more speak about European politics and Belgian politics. I feel more comfortable with that.
And you said that.
Yeah, but you see what I mean. I mean, I think for some structures and countries, their actual existence seems to be so much an evidence that if you would actually put it in question, they might feel shaken. Yeah. The EU has this flexibility as being able to put itself into question and say, okay, well, I mean, there have been choices made, democratic choices, and we're going to respect them and we're going to find an agreement. I mean, we're not going to say, oh, you're not entitled to leave the EU. No, I mean, you were free to join us. You are free to leave as well. I mean, there's we think it works better if you don't impose it on the people. And we will find a deal. We will.
I agree. So one more question our founder, Mr. Vikash, is asking you that can IBG play a significant role in working with EEC business sector to benefit business people on both sides? IBG would like to have close relations with the commercial ministries in Belgium. How can we help?
Yes, I mean, as one of our main reasons of existence is, of course, to promote business relationship between Belgium and India. We have, of course, a BICI, which is the Belgium Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry based in Brussels. But we also have IBSCCI, Indian Belgium Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce and Industry here in India. But we are open to collaborating with all chambers of commerce and all actors which are willing to help their members in order to establish this relationship. So in the consulates, we have, as I said, 2 offices which are established, FIT and AWEX. Those are our regional trade commissioners. Those are the first contact points for people out of India who wants to do business or who wants to invest in Belgium. But once the first contact has been established, we have those other contacts in Belgium, in the Ministry of Economy, in the Ministry of Trade, or even in the Belgium Indian Chamber of Commerce, who are there to again support and help those businesses in order to get things rolling. So yes, IBD we are most welcome to work with you. I mean, please, your members can either contact directly FIT or AWEX, or they can send queries to our consulate. I also would like, if you allow me, to speak 2 minutes about the visa issues. We already spoke a bit, but I think it's important for you to know that we are open for that. So our visa section is working. If people have queries about if it's possible for them to travel to Belgium or not, we have an email address which is called mumbaivisa at diplobel.fed.be, but you can find everything on internet where they can send an email, say, look, this is my situation, am I or not entitled to go to Belgium? The main thing for the moment is that non-essential travels are not yet allowed. So meaning that if you are a tourist, or if you are business people, for the moment, it's difficult to get a visa. But if you work in Belgium, if you stay in Belgium, if you go to study in Belgium, if you go to join your family members which are in Belgium, in that case, we are issuing visa. That's in a nutshell. More details, or you can have specific cases if you are a seafarer, or if you're a health professional, or if you're a diplomat, of course, there are some other exemptions. But if you have questions, basically send us an email. The best way is to contact the consulate through email, and we will try to help you with the right information for the access to Belgium. So that's from my side, let's say the few things I wanted to share with you, but I'm still open for other questions if you want.
Sure. So there's a question from a member. What is the business opportunity for coir pit or cocoa pet or coir manufacturers in Belgium?
Well, that's a good question, which I will not be able to answer directly. The best thing to do is if they would actually send an email with what they do, they can send it to the consulate or to the trade agencies, and we will work on it to see how we can respond to that and what we can give as good information. But I wouldn't be able to just answer straight from my sleeve now.
Correct. So this person should reach out to your trade office, I guess, right?
We are here, and we work every day. The people, even if they're at home, they work from home, but we answer to the calls and we answer to the emails, and we try to work as normal as possible.
Awesome. There's another question. Is there a possibility to collaborate with the monks to produce their beer in India?
So it's already happening. We have the biggest beer company around the world, which is ABF InBev. It's a Belgian beer company, and they have already different production facilities here, and they're already even investing in small local breweries. But if that person has a specific request for a specific idea he would like to try out, please feel free. We have plenty of local brewers in Belgium who are looking for outside markets or to establish collaborations. And in India, they're brewing very good beer as well. So if they want to use maybe some of the expertise or some of the machinery of the knowledge which has been developed in Belgium, of course. Everybody should be entitled to make good products and sell them. And India has plenty of things to offer.
Great, cool. How open is Belgium to invite outsiders, especially Indians, for infra development? What are the scopes?
The scopes are basically fully open. We have no limitations for infrastructure, neither investments or contractors, meaning that we tend to work with tenders, or with open tenders, which depending on the size of the type of contracts are published either at the European level or at the Belgian level, but they're open. And when we speak about open tenders, meaning that, the tender will prescribe a certain number of conditions, but basically anybody fulfilling those conditions can participate, and the best offer will get a contract. So we do not work with, let's say, limited possibilities, or we do not, as we are a member of the European Union, we do not use nationality as a kind of a preference as to exclude some countries or some people out of the business. So we are a really transparent and open economy.
Great. So there are questions are still pouring in, but we are running out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our founder, Mr. Vikash Mittersen, to give some closing remarks. Vikash, over to you.
Thank you. Most interesting talk today. Captivated me, and I was hoping that it goes on. But the clock is a sharp reminder of things to start and stop. I want to speak of three things, two of which are non-business, and one is. So I want to tell everybody, and I hope Mr. Pierre-Emmanuel agrees, his name is not just Pierre. In the French language, whenever there is a hyphen between two names, it is one name. His name is Pierre-Emmanuel. And then the third name is always the surname. Is that right, sir?
In my case, it is. Some
Yes.
people have no hyphen, so they have only one first name
Yes.
and then the last name. But yes, in Belgium, we do not work like in the US. We do not work with middle names. We work with the first names and
Yes.
last name.
So in this case, whenever there is a hyphen, keep in mind it's one name. And the second name of that one name is always has some historical background or some meaning to it. It denotes something, maybe a place, maybe a time, maybe work. So that is the way that runs. So that is one bit. The second bit is that, sir, I also am an honorary consul. So we are similar in nature and work. Though you are a diplomatic consul, I am an honorary. I am with the Republic of Mali, Africa. So to that extent, I find similarities between us. And the third and final thing, important thing is something I already mentioned, which has already been discussed, that how do we work closely as IBG with the government of Belgium? It could be any section, any sectors. Mostly it's going to be with the secretarial, the business side of the government. But we'd like to establish, and greatly so, because you are the center of Europe, we will be able to farm out much more easily into Europe through Belgium rather than direct with each country. So if you could introduce us to that department, you just mentioned two people with whom we can work in the government, and that would be great. We'd like to take it forward. Thank you very much. Yeah, tell me.
Thank you. We will provide the contacts of our trade agents and of
Yes.
BIC in Brussels. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's also the European Chamber of Commerce in Brussels, which can also be helpful for your
Yes.
purposes.
Yes, and we'd like to be introduced to such chambers. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your time and for your
Thank
attention.
So with that, a big thank you, Pierre, for giving us your valuable time and sharing a lot of valuable information with our members. Everyone, I'm sure you guys enjoyed the session. If anyone who's non-member, kindly put your name, address, and mobile number in the chat box so we can reach out to you for the forthcoming. With that, Pierre, a big thank you once again. It was great hosting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for your invitation. Bye.